The small town of Ravensbrook was a quiet and peaceful place, where everyone knew each other and crime was almost non-existent. But deep within its forests stood an old, abandoned asylum, Blackwood Sanatorium. It had been shut down decades ago, due to horrifying experiments conducted on its patients. The townspeople spoke in hushed tones about the horrors that had once taken place there, warning outsiders to stay away. Jake, a 22-year-old aspiring filmmaker, had always been fascinated by urban legends and the macabre. When he heard about Blackwood Sanatorium, he saw it as the perfect opportunity to make a documentary. With his friends, Lisa, Mark, and Sam, he decided to explore the asylum and capture footage for their project. The four friends arrived at the asylum just before sunset. The massive, decaying structure loomed over them, its broken windows like hollow eyes staring into their souls. A rusted gate creaked as they pushed it open, revealing an overgrown courtyard filled with dead leaves and twisted branches. The air was thick with the scent of mold and decay. Inside, the walls were covered in peeling paint, and the floors were littered with broken glass and old medical instruments. Strange, faded messages were scrawled in red across the walls. "He never left. The doctor is watching." The words sent a chill down Lisa's spine, but she dismissed them as old graffiti meant to scare trespassers. As they ventured deeper, they found a dusty office with patient files scattered across the floor. Sam picked one up and read aloud, "Patient 237, severe schizophrenia, extreme violence, experimental treatment unsuccessful." Mark scoffed, "Sounds like every horror movie." They continued exploring, recording every eerie hallway and rusted wheelchair they came across. Then they heard a faint shuffling sound echoing through the halls. Lisa turned sharply, her breath hitching. "Did you hear that?" "Probably just a rat," Mark shrugged, but Jake wasn't convinced. The group pressed on until they reached a locked door marked "Restricted Ward." A heavy chain secured it, but Sam found a loose panel in the adjacent wall and squeezed through. One by one, they followed, stepping into an untouched section of the asylum. The temperature dropped. The walls were pristine, unlike the decayed areas they had just passed. Medical equipment stood in perfect condition, as if the place had never been abandoned. Then they saw the operating table in the center of the room stained dark with something unidentifiable. Shackles were attached to the sides. Lisa's voice trembled. "I don't like this. We should go." Before they could turn back, a loud bang came from the hallway they had just entered. Their flashlights flickered. A guttural whisper filled the air. "You shouldn't be here." Jake's camera shook in his hands as he turned toward the noise. A figure stood at the end of the corridor, cloaked in shadow. Its breath came in ragged gasps. Then it moved fast. Lisa screamed as they ran back through the hole in the wall, tripping over debris in their desperation. But when they re-entered the main corridor, it was different. The graffiti was gone. The building looked new. The walls were freshly painted. The lights flickered to life. Footsteps echoed behind them. "Time for your treatment." The voice was low, almost mocking. Jake turned and raised his camera. A man in a blood-stained doctor's coat stood there, his eyes hollow yet piercing. His smile was wide, too wide, stretching beyond human capability. He took a step forward, holding a rusted scalpel. The door ahead slammed shut, locking them inside. Mark banged against it, screaming, "Let us out." "You are my patients now," the doctor whispered, advancing on them. Lisa collapsed, sobbing. Sam grabbed an old metal tray and swung it at the figure, but it passed through him like mist. A cold hand gripped Sam's throat, lifting him off the ground. His screams were cut short as his body convulsed violently before going limp. The doctor dropped him like a discarded toy. Jake pulled Lisa and Mark down another hallway, searching for another exit. The walls pulsed as if the building itself was alive. The ceiling oozed a dark, tar-like substance. A door appeared at the end of the hallway, standing slightly ajar. Rushing toward it, they pushed through only to find themselves back in the operating room. The table was now occupied. Sam's lifeless body lay strapped down, his eyes wide open in frozen terror. Lisa wailed in horror. Mark grabbed Jake's arm. "We have to get out." The doctor stood beside the table, tapping his scalpel against his palm. "I've been waiting for you," he said. Jake pointed his camera at him, but the lens cracked instantly. Static filled the screen. His head throbbed as whispers invaded his mind. "You will never leave." Mark rushed forward in blind rage, swinging a broken chair leg. The doctor merely tilted his head before snapping his fingers. Mark screamed as his own limbs twisted. Unnaturally, Bo,